Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to everyone around the world. Let me actually turn this up a smidge. It is Saturday, my friends, and we are here for a weekend live stream. Hello, hello, hello. We got Korg, Ebunk, Little Poker, a couple of other people. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Hope everyone's staying safe, staying indoors. Today we have a pretty fun topic, if I do say so myself. I also feel like this light is like way too bright for this webcam, so there we go. All right. So today we are gonna learn how to DJ. Who's ready to learn how to DJ? Because I think this will be fun. I thought timetable said Shabbat. I know, I moved it, I changed it. Normally I take Shabbat off, but also Shabbat Shalom to all my my Jewish brethren. Yeah. So the goal today is not to like teach you everything about how to DJ. But if you've never DJ'd before, or if it's been like a long time, maybe this is a good refresher. I'm gonna go over basically all of what this is and what this does. I'm going to go over the basics of beat matching. I'm going to go over the basics of track selection. And then after this, we're going to go into virtual DJ. I'm going to show you how to do all this inside of a computer rather than with all this big expensive gear. Because you don't need all this big expensive gear. You don't need all this stuff. You can DJ off your phone if you want, honestly. Like, there's a Traktor DJ app, and you can DJ off your phone. I have DJ'd off my phone before. It's shitty, but it works. I figured this is going to take, like, maybe 2-3 hours tops. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to drop them in chat. I am going to be doing house music for today, but the concepts will translate for every genre. There's some differences between like how you would transition between certain like sections of songs in different genres. I know in dubstep there's a lot of like quick drop changes, which we'll preview today. But I think if you're just getting started learning how to DJ, like really like chill genres or very kind of loop-centric genres, house, techno, not like the more aggressive styles of dubstep, but like the more OG, deep dubstep styles, like anything that is supposed to be like a big, long, drawn-out kind of thing is going to be really, really helpful. Hold on, sorry. Did you already explain which button to map the air horn to? This one right here. This is the air horn button. Pew 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 pew. Faster mixing. Yeah. Is this how a DJ would do it? That is during a show. What do you mean, Justin? I'm not quite sure what you mean. But this is gonna be close to how a DJ would do it for a live set. Yeah. There's just going to be some differences in kind of what we're going over and how everything is going to work. But just to kind of introduce you to the concepts, the basics of DJing can be boiled down to two main things. One, blending two songs together over time, and two, deciding the order of songs to be played. The first skill can be taught in a day. Y'all are going to learn how to DJ today. The actual skills you need are very simple. They're not too difficult to master. And thank you so much for the 6-month resub, Brett Pill. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, buddy.
What should my DJ name be?
Your DJ name should be DJ Kropotkin. That should be your name. Or DJ Trotsky. DJ Trotsky's pretty good too. But, sorry. But the real difficult skill in DJing is taste making and curation. The idea of, like, picking which songs go in which order is not something that can necessarily be taught, but there are things you can do to make that process easier, which we'll discuss. But to begin, let's just go over what you see in front of us right here. So these two things, they're called CDJs. Technically, these are the XDJs. These are kind of like the CDJ's little brother. And these are just supposed to be digital vinyl. That's all this is doing. This is meant to replicate what you would have with vinyl turntables. These are what we would call the platters. This is where originally like the vinyl record would be sitting, and this thing would be spinning over time to move the vinyl record. There would be a little arm with a little needle on it that would be reading the record, and that's how you would control everything. Don't worry, Snowy Zoe. You don't need to buy DJ equipment to do this. That's what I was saying before. I'm going to be showing you the concepts on this, but you can do it in free software. I believe there's a version of Traktor that's free. There's a version of Serato that's free, and Virtual DJ is free for home use. I'm going to show you in Virtual DJ today how we're going to be doing the same sort of concept. But I feel like having something big and physical helps you see the process a little bit easier. So that's why I want to do it on here. On any sort of DJ controller, we'll call it, whether it is a CDJ or a CDJ variant like this, whether it's like a Traktor controller or a Serato controller, you're going to have a few of the same basic features on these things. One, you're going to have this platter. This is going to allow you to either kind of nudge the track's positioning on the waveform playback, or you're going to actually be able to directly move the song and like actually scrub through the track. You can actually mix inside of Ableton, yeah, and we can talk about that on another stream. But right now we're just going to focus on like what I would consider traditional DJing. This is going to be the most basic form, and over time we're going to start adding in things like what we would call controllerism. We're going to talk about things such as scratching. I'm not really good at scratching, so I'm not necessarily going to do that, but we'll talk about it. And we're going to talk about kind of more live performance aspects and DJing inside of a DAW, which Ableton Live is actually a really good DJing program. But we don't have to worry about that right now. So most of what you're going to be working with is the platter right here. You're not always going to be moving it in terms of adjusting the timing of the track, but if you're using a DJ controller, usually there's two different types of motion. Like on CDJs and the XDJ, you can either move the side of the platter where you have like these little nodes right here, or you can press in on the top of the controller and push and pull. When you're moving on the side of the platter, this sends a signal using these controllers to just kind of like gently increase or decrease the tempo or the BPM of the track. And then when you touch the top of this platter and move it, this is going to actually stop the playback and allow you to move it backwards or forwards in time. And those are going to be how you adjust the positioning of the two songs together. The other big way of doing that is going to be with this thing right here and this thing right here, which we call just the tempo faders. And they usually have some sort of variable range. On the CDJs and the XDJs, they have a range of 6% increase plus or minus, 10% increase plus or minus, 16% increase plus or minus, and what they call wide, which I believe takes the whole range of tempo that they have at their disposal, and you can go like as low as like 20 BPM or as fast as like 400 BPM in terms of increase. But most of the time you don't need to worry about that too much. All this does is it increases or decreases the speed of the playback. When these are at the middle point, there's kind of like a little lock-in right here on both of these mixers. When this is at the center, it's whatever the default playback speed of that song is. As you push this further up, this is going to slow the tempo. It's going to make it go from like 120 to 115 to 105 or whatever. And then when you pull it down, it gets faster. Now, when you're loading up a track, you're usually not going to have it just start playing. So you have these two buttons right here. This first button is what we call a cue. And a cue is a point, exactly, Cork. A cue is a point where you're sort of queuing up. You're previewing the playback. It's not going to start playing entirely, but if I load up a song right here, let's load up a different track, actually, something that starts with some drums. So if I play the cue button right here, whoops. Oh, I just realized I forgot to plug in the actual audio cables. I knew there was one thing I forgot. Sorry. So important step when you're using your DJ controllers, actually, plug them in. I knew I forgot one thing. It's always gonna happen. All right, so this is gonna go into A. Now, if you're just getting started, you're not gonna have to worry about that. This is just because I'm stupid. But for these, like, you can think about these specific controllers as like MP3 players. And then this is just the audio cable that connects to this thing, which allows it to play out to y'all. So let me just do this real quick. I knew I was going to forget one thing. I always forget one thing whenever I do these friggin' streams. There's always like one thing that I'm forgetting. I literally set up Virtual DJ. I got all my tracks loaded up. I did everything but this. Everything but this. All right, sorry about that. Anyways, so I press this button up here, the cue button. You can hear the track playing back, but watch what happens when I let go. It stops. So the cue is a good resource for demoing a song and allowing you to sort of figure out where it exists in relationship to whatever other track is playing, and to see if you even want to play it. Below that is just your normal play pause button. Hands off, it's playing. Now notice it slows down. Not every DJ setup is going to have this, but certain DJ systems and certain DJ controllers will have essentially emulation of what an actual vinyl turntable would do. And so this thing right here actually controls the amount of time it takes for the vinyl to start up, builds up, or stops. And you can make it, nice and slow or instantaneous. I usually keep it on instantaneous unless I'm doing certain DJ techniques, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. And honestly, those are the three main things that you're going to want to worry about when it comes to any DJ controller. There's a few other things that we're going to talk about later that you can do either on the controller or in your software. But for now, I just want you to think about those three things on these controllers. Think about them as they're only three buttons. You have the knob to adjust the speed. You have the fader to adjust the tempo. And then you have a preview button and a play pause button. Those are the only things you have when you're getting started. That's all you technically need to DJ. How's it going, little finger? Now, as you saw when we had that little scuffed moment before, you do need to have something to play this audio through. And that's where this thing comes in play. This is a DJ mixer. You take the audio output of these and they route into this big old controller, this big old hardware device that routes out to whatever speaker setup you have. So right now I have this going directly into my audio interface. That's why you can hear it pretty clearly. And they typically come in either 2 or 4 channel variants. You can see I have these 2 faders right here. So this is technically a 4-channel mixer, but It doesn't really function that way. It's designed to be kind of like a 2+2 mixer. Like it's a 2-channel mixer that you can add two other things into, but you only really have volume control for those. And that's not necessarily what we want. So for all intents and purposes, this is a 2-channel mixer. I have one volume fader here, which connects with this CDJ right here. And I have this volume fader, which controls this. And this is just a straight output of volume. As you can see, there's still volume information playing, but it's not being outputted. This controls what you hear, not what I hear. Now, most mixers, most even DJ software, will have two different audio streams coming. Usually you have the main feed that everyone hears, and then you have a special switch somewhere. On here, it's these two buttons right here that are lighting up blue. You can see them lighting up there. These are the cue buttons. This is a cue selection. Now, that connects with the cue button, right? So when we're talking about the cue button, that previews the song. It doesn't play the song, it previews the song. So the cue button on the mixer previews the audio. Now, if I press this button and press play, you can't hear anything, I think. Now, you can't hear anything. You can hear, can't hear, but if I turn this up a little bit, so as I push that button, it allows me to hear the music through my headphones without it going out. This is the essential part of DJing. No, Crown. So the cue button does not play into the cue stream. The cue button is only for the controller. This does not speak to this. These are not connected in any way. This is only for previewing the playback. This basically sets a secondary audio stream that does not go out to the speakers, only to your headphones. I have this little knob right here, which determines the mix value. When this is at the middle point, I have a 50% blend between what the audience hears and what is playing through whatever track is selected as cue, whether one or both. If I have this over to the left, or my left, your right, this is going to be more of the actual track that's being cued, not the track that is being played out. And then when this is over to the right, that's going to be only what the audience can hear. Most DJs prefer, in my experience, everyone's going to have their own different thing. It's either going to be on the middle or it's going to be some degree of the left side, where it's more the cue in the headphones. Usually at DJ booths, you will have an extra pair of speakers that's playing the audio so that you can hear what the audience is hearing. So that's why you'll see a lot of DJs like this, where they have one headphone on and one headphone off, because this is listening to the booth speaker, this is listening to the cue, and that allows you to DJ both tracks and kind of feel them together. Also, I have used vinyl, but I'm bad at it. I don't really know how to DJ with vinyl, but I have done it before. Just not good. Just not good. So when you are DJing, when you're practicing, you don't have to worry about this because it doesn't matter if you're getting it wrong. But while you're DJing for other people, it's a good idea to mix in with the cue and then switch over as you're turning out the other track so you can get ready to move on. Next to the cue buttons, you have these three little knobs right here. And these are basic EQs. You have high frequency control, either boost or cut. You have mid frequency control, boost or cut. You have low frequency control, boost or cut. Now, you don't usually boost. More often than not, you won't find yourself boosting frequencies. You can for certain types of songs and for certain types of effects, but very rarely do I boost. More often than not, I'm cutting. 90% of the time, I'm only really touching these bottom ones, because generally you don't have to worry about blending the high frequencies and the mid frequencies of two songs. Generally they work, but if it sounds like there's a lot of hiss and a lot of buzz, it might be good to start to tame high frequencies on one of the two tracks. But don't worry about that. The key thing, and this will be a really useful kind of habit to get into, when a track is not playing, the low frequencies on that track should be cut. And I'll show you why later, but I'm just kind of introducing you to the concepts and we'll circle back around. Below all of those, you usually will have some form of fader, or some sort of filter. This is a bimodal filter. If I turn this to the left, your right, this is a low pass. So this is going to cut out high frequencies. And then the other way is a high pass. It's cutting out high frequencies, and then the high pass is cutting out low frequencies. So if I want to remove high frequencies, I move it to my left, your right. If I want to remove low frequencies, I to my right, your left. This is a really good mixing tool on a more macro level. This is a good way to help transition out of a song rather than just controlling the volume. This is also a really good performance tool. Like if I'm playing a song and I start talking, I have to now talk over the song and compete with all of these frequencies. But if I do this, I keep the groove going. You still feel the low frequencies, and now I get to be like, hey, how's it going? Welcome to my show. I'm Musar. Hope everyone's having a good time tonight. Please tip your bartenders and enjoy the music. So it's a really, really useful tool. Most of the time, you're only using these bottom two knobs: low frequency cuts and filters. And then the only other big thing to note on the controller, I'll show you one more thing, these up here, which we'll talk about before we move on to kind of the basics of DJing. But the only other thing that you're going to have to deal with is this knob right here, which this is a cross fader. When this is at the center, it's kind of like the Q mix here. When this is at the center, it's playing the output of both tracks evenly. As I move this over towards the left, it's only playing more of this track. And if I move this to the right, it's only playing more of this track. I'll show you an example of that when we get into how to DJ. Don't worry, I'm just introducing you to all of the different parts. I actually don't personally DJ with this. I know lots of people who do, so it's a totally valid way of DJing, and I'll show you that way of DJing. But in my experience, I find myself more mixing with these volume faders than mixing with this volume fader, okay? On my controller, I actually have a knob right here. I can kind of twist it like this. You can't really hear it, but if I have this track playing, and then I go ahead and I have this song playing. Let me actually move up to a new memory point. Notice if both songs playing. Now it's only playing this song. So plenty of people DJ like that. So what I do instead, because I don't really like that, is I set this crossfader switch. So now it only isolates one track. When it's at the extremities. So see, see, as soon as I move this over to the right, you can hear both tracks. Doesn't do anything. I can only hear that right track. So that's my general preference. Hip-hop DJs use that more. Yeah, that's very true. If you're in hip-hop, you do that more. And if you're a vinyl DJ who scratches a lot, you're more likely to have it like I do. So then you can have like one track playing, and then you can do like quick little fader movements like this to kind of cut the song. That is definitely way more common for hip-hop DJs, for sure. And then the last thing I want to touch on, this is not a super important thing, but one thing you can do is you can adjust the volume of the tracks using these top two knobs. This is a gain increase, this is a gain decrease. And this is usually just to make sure that when these two faders are at maximum, the two songs are at the same volume. Because obviously not every song is going to be mastered the same, and older songs are usually going to be quieter than newer songs. So this allows you to kind of rebalance that. How's it going, Butcher Squad? I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. So with that out of the way, let's actually get into the mix. Let's actually start DJing. So we're going to start with that fader style of DJing. We're going to go over the basics of beat matching and transitioning, and then we're going to go on to a couple of different ways of doing that, of essentially blending between tracks. So up here on the left channel, I have a song already set up. Let me see if I can show you some stuff on this real quick. So this is what I see, right? We have the track name right here. We have the key of the song right here. This is the waveform display. This is the overall waveform of the song. We can see how long the song is. We can see how much the tempo has changed. As I move this fader up and down, you'll see this number change. That's the percentage increase. You can also see down at the bottom right, the tempo of the song. And there's a few other things here for cueing. I have set up these little points on the song, which makes it easier to jump through. We'll talk about those later, but I'm just kind of showing you everything that's going on. And there's a couple of other things for like selecting my songs or for turning on certain special parameters and stuff like that. So let me put this back and let's get into the mix. So let me set this up. Sorry. Trying to get this to, there we go. There we go. Okay, cool. So, the first thing I want you to do when we start listening to this, is there a sync button? Yes. There is a sync button, but we're not going to use that yet. We're not going to do that yet. You're going to learn how to use sync, but I do personally feel that even if you're going to be using sync 100% of the time, even if you're always going to be using sync, and plenty of DJs do that, there's nothing wrong with that. I used to have my own personal hang-ups about sync, but honestly, at this point, I don't care. If you want to sync, you can. Plenty of DJs do it. It actually opens up certain features for you to other things. But kind of like Paul Pads is saying, having the skill is really, really helpful because I actually had to make sure that this song was mapped in correctly. Not every song will be analyzed properly by your DJ software. And if you haven't actually gone in and fixed that stuff, you cannot know that it's going to match up. So you're going to have to do some mixing on the fly. Let's see, my tempo. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Fauno. Let's see. I know I'm jumping the gun, but when you get to this part, I struggle with key mixing in the gray. They don't know how to do so. An explanation. Yeah, absolutely, E-Bunk. We'll get to that. We're going to get to that when we start talking about taste making and song selection. We're going to focus on that in a little bit. That's a good mindset. But yeah, like Funk Mod's saying, sometimes sync just doesn't work. So having the skill helps. Now, what I want you all to do is I want you to start counting. It's real easy. We're going to count in groups of 4, okay? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Now, most music, especially dance music, especially DJ-friendly dance music, exists in this kind of area where you just have very, very clean divisions in either groups of 4 or groups of 8. This is not always the case. I specifically picked a song in this DJ set that does not follow that, and we will go into that later. What's the track? This is Moves Like Miss Jackson by Zhu. Z-H-U. This is an old song. All of these songs are going to be pretty old because they don't have anything from 2019 or 2020 on this USB drive right here. I don't have a lot of new music, but I need to get into that. And we'll talk about, that sort of stuff when we get to taste making and song making. But in house music, in techno, in dubstep, in drum and bass, in almost every single genre, you're going to have this trend of 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Now a slight change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8. Now a new section. And it's always going to follow that. So what you should be doing when you're getting started with DJing is just count. First out loud. Thank you, eBunk, for that tier 1 sub, by the way. Thank you so much. First out loud, then in your head. Just start keeping that count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. And as long as you have that in your head, the rest of the process is just aligning the songs to that count. So I'm going to play this song. I'm going to get another track. That'll work. And we're going to start to mix this song in. So I'm actually going to move this song forwards a little bit to the chorus. Right now I'm pressing a button here to search through the track, and I'm using that platter to move things forwards. We're just going to this section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now, I'm gonna play this track. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. As you can hear, it's not perfect, right? So, how do we fix that? How do we make sure that when I move into that second track, it works out? This is where the Q button becomes your best friend. So now I'm going to have both tracks playing, and I'm going to let you hear what's going on. This is why, also thank you D. Pacavelli for that follow. This is the reason why I was saying remove the bass, because if I play the low end on this section, and I'm maybe going to turn on sync, there's a lot going on. And the low end, especially, is going to get cloudy. It's going to get kind of confusing. So, the general DJ rule of thumb is, on the track you're mixing into, cut the sub until that track is the main song. Then flip the low end, either gradually, so if this one's up and this one's down, you can either slowly over the course of a section transition them. I'm moving this left one down and this right one up. It takes some practice to get used to doing that. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And then, now that this song has the bass down, you can pull that track out, move on to the next song. Bass is already cut. So we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're just going to have the low end cut on this. We're going to have the crossfader set all the way over on this song on the left. And after 8 bars, we're going to start tapping in this one. I'm going to make sure you can hear it. And we're going to try and catch a downbeat, right? 2, 2, 3, 4. 4. Tap in this to kind of get in the groove. 8, 2, 3, try and press it. Sounds about right? So now I can press play, and it'll keep going. Now here is where I would start crossfading over. Now we can start blending through the low end, right? So I'm going to start removing the low end from this track I'm playing, increasing the low end on this track. Slowly. Slowly. Nice and slow. Now they blend together. Start fading this track out. Moving over to the right one. And now we're in the next song. I can stop this song on the left, and I can start to pick the next song. And yeah, they're not exactly in the same key, but they're in related keys. So typically, and Bass Curtis, this is actually one of the reasons why I don't like doing this type of crossfading, because it makes key changes a little bit more obvious. That is one of the reasons why I don't like doing that. But good ear, good ear. This song on the left is in the key of F minor. This is in the song of B flat minor. They are related, but there are going to be some notes that are out of key with each other. Most people, I will say, most people don't really worry about that stuff because they're not musicians. They're just drunk people at a club trying to have fun. So I will say, usually that stuff doesn't matter too much, but it can be a problem. It can be a problem, especially if you're doing drastic key changes. Now, we'll talk a little bit about harmonic mixing here because eBunk was curious about it. We're not going to touch on it too deeply, but since we're talking about it here, I think it will help. Thank you so much, ExecTech. So there are 2 schools of philosophy when it comes to mixing. One school of thought is harmonic mixing, which is to say, you think about the keys of the 2 songs or more songs that you're playing, and you want to make sure that they are either in the same key or they are within a close harmonic distance to each other. There are certain tools that can help you do this. DJ softwares attempt to automatically do it, but very few DJ softwares are actually really good at coming up with the correct key of a song. So there's other programs like Mixed In Key, which is, in my opinion, the best one I've tested in terms of getting the key right of a song. And I use that. But you don't need to do that necessarily. The idea is you just want songs that are close together. For example, songs that are a perfect fifth away from each other. B flat is a perfect fifth away from F, because if you look at a keyboard, a perfect fifth is the distance of 7 semitones, the distance of C to G. That is a perfect fifth. B flat, note right here, to F is the same sort of distance. This is the same distance right here. And then F to C is the same distance. This is the same distance. So when you are trying to mix a song that's in the key of C, you have two options. You can either go from C to G, or you can go from C to F if you want to change keys. Otherwise, you can just stick to the key of C. Thank you to Chronic Defiance for that follow. Thank you to Dashing Mare for that follow. Yeah, well, a lot of DJs kind of do that, Em. They kind of navigate their way around the circle of fifths. And that is what we would consider the first level, or the first style, not level, the first style of mixing. The other style that I've seen most often, this is actually more common in old school DJs who didn't really have all of these tools to get their songs harmonically aligned, is they go based on genre and theme. So if a song has a lot of very tribal drums and another song has very tribal drums, they're going to work together because they sound the same even if their keys are different. If I have a song with these really pretty soul chords and I'm moving into another song with really pretty soul chords, there might be some clashing, but in terms of the theme of the songs, they work really well together. So you can either do one, the other, or both. I try to take kind of a hybrid approach where I will mostly be mixing harmonically. I mostly mix in the key, and then I try to look at sort of the theme of the songs and I connect them together. And that's obviously not the only way of doing it. Funkmon's saying it's like, sometimes it's just what the song wants, and just kind of see how things go. And the more that you get experience DJing, the more you'll kind of cultivate your own style. Thank you, Fano, for that follow. But with that being said, I would say don't worry too much about it. Don't worry too much about it. So I'm going to pick a different song that I think will be a little bit better for showing off this mix. So what we're going to do is we are going to loop this section, and we're going to try to figure out how to match this one. We're going to hear the whole process, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to set a 16 bar beat loop. Right? So we have the song. Now, we're going to have this other track. Doesn't sound exactly correct. So just tap that cue, get it going. Feels locked in. Now I'm going to push it off, right? Feel how there's kind of like this flam. So if you don't have it exactly correct, there's ways you can fix it. Yeah, it feels kind of gallopy, right? So what I'm going to do is, thank you, Bess. I appreciate it. We don't really need that. I appreciate it, but thank you. You don't have to critique my mixing. Thank you. Because I'm teaching right now, so I don't think it really matters if, oh no, one of the keys is wrong. I'm trying to teach right now, but thank you, Bass Curtis. I sincerely appreciate your input. Thank you. So now we're trying to get this on grid, right? So I'm going to get this off on purpose, right? feels a bit off. So now we're going to move it forwards a little bit. There we go. So I kept nudging it up in tempo. Now they're locked in. Off. So now, if you're having trouble, try first, if the song's not on, push it forwards. That's what I'm doing here. I'm increasing the tempo temporarily to get the track to maybe try and catch up. If that isn't working, the opposite direction to kind of slow it down will help. Is there anything that helps you guess which direction to nudge? Beat match with the screens. Yeah, don't beat match with the screens. Don't do this. So what Crown is talking about, let me turn off looping. Do you see these little things right here? That is a little marker for the beat grid. If I play this song right here, you can see where they're lined up and where they're not. That's a good resource, but that is a crutch. That's a crutch. Just like sync, that's a crutch. Because sometimes it's not on. Yeah, I know. The boxes move on top of each other. Thank you, Chronic Defiance, for that follow. Or no, I already mentioned that because I can see it over here. It's faster. But on my record box, I have both waves. No, and I get that. But I would recommend against it because then you're not listening. You're not listening. And you know what DJing is about? Guess what DJing is about? I'll give you a hint. It's the same exact thing that music is about. Guess what music is about? Music is about listening, right? So why would you look your way into DJing? You know, why would you look when you could hear? How much do you have on your speed vinyl button? Right now I think they're at plus 10%, but they're also not on at all. I'm not using those yet. We will get to those. We'll get to those. But right now we're just doing two songs that are at the same BPM. And we'll talk about BPM changes soon because I do have songs here that are at different BPMs. But if I want to figure out how off something is, I'm going to play this late. The thing that for me signifies that this is late is one, the softer kick. Thank you to Fano for that follow. The softer kick is happening after the bassy kick. So again, listen to the kick. That's going to be your guide, right? You can feel the kick. Now I'm going to be late. There's kind of like a boot, and it's that at the end, that boot, that really helps me hear that it is late, that I need to push it back. Now I'm going to do it early. Dicka. So, in that case, I can tell that it's dickun. That's sort of my indicator that it's late. That's one of the reasons why I strongly recommend, if you're doing this style of mixing, have the bass cut on the track you're mixing into. Can you key in a starting point on this fly to save for later? Yes, there is this thing called memory cues, and there's these things called hot cues. And you can set that up. We'll talk a little bit about memory cues later. Yeah, my XDJ does have hot cues. It does. If you see here, if I press this button up here, this is the perform menu. This is a beat loop function. And then these up here that my fingers are hovering over, these are hot cues. We have A, B, C, and D. And if I set those, if I tap it, it automatically goes to that point and starts playing. That's why it's a hot cue. Rather than a normal cue, which just temporarily previews it, a hot cue just starts it. And then you also have these things called memory markers, which you can set. And if I push this forwards arrow, you can see the tracks kind of jumping. I set these up beforehand, but you can set these up on your own. And that is useful for kind of quickly jumping to a part of a song, depending upon what you're mixing with. So if I was like in the breakdown of this song, and I wanted to sync it up with the breakdown of this song, I would jump to a position on this song to get to there. Where do you set up your markers? You can either set them up on your mixer, on the actual CDJs. Can you set the hot cues on the actual physical buttons? Not on this controller. Other controllers, yes, not on this controller. You can set up your markers in either on here. I can either press this memory button right here where my finger is hovering and I can add a memory marker, or I can do it inside of Rekordbox and import that onto my USB stick. If you're using DJ software like Virtual DJ, Traktor, or Serato, you can set that all up inside of the program. And there are limits to both memory cue points and to hot cue points. It depends on the DJ program, and it depends on what kind of environment you're working with. Like the flagship CDJs, the most expensive ones, I believe they have 4 or 6 hot cues. But the older ones only have 3. I believe on Traktor you can have 4. On these you can have 4. It's usually dependent upon what's going on. Yeah, and in terms of where you set things up, I personally set up memory cue points based on major sections of the song that I want to count off, or little indicators of when things go outside of the normal grid. Like this song right here actually has a little break. And if I show you, as I jump through these cue points, see how it says intro up there at the top? It's a little bit blurry, I apologize. There we go. Come on. All right, so you see intro, break, 2-bar gap, break beat, drop, stuff like that. This is sort of how I do it. And it's usually at the major sections. 16-bar sections, take care of Red Pill. 16-bar sections are generally the most common. And then for hot cues I usually set on one of 3 things. One, it's on the bar or one of the beats before the drop, if it's a song with a drop. So like on the vocal sample, the bar before the drop, I'll have a hot cue set to that. So if I'm trying to do like a quick drop mix, I can just press that button, flip the volume faders, and then we're into the next song. I will sometimes have a hot cue on the snare before the drop. If there's like a big snare on the 4 before the downbeat of the drop, I'll put it there. And then the other big place I put hot cues is on anything I want to kind of hit as some sort of like performance thing. Like if there's a vocal sample that says like hey or whoa or whatever, I can tap that and I can use that to like whoa, 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 kind of like play in live on the actual controller to enhance the performance. So that would be my focus on hot cues, but I don't want to get too deep into that. I want to focus more on just beat matching, okay? I just want to focus on beat matching for now. We'll get into everything else later, I promise. We'll get into that. We're going to get into just DJing right now. That's all second tier information. What's more important is beat matching, getting the tempos right, and making sure the songs blend into each other properly. That is a good question, FunkMod. If you figure it out, let me know. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a really basic mix. I'm going to mix the drop of this song into the intro of this song. I'm going to talk you through my process as I do it. And then I'm actually going to turn down the DJ music just a little bit just to make sure that you can hear me over everything. And then we'll go through the process step by step. So I'm going to start from the break here. Actually, we're going to start from the actual drop. So, song A is playing. At this point, I would be over here on my mixer looking for the tracks, trying to find which song I want to DJ into. Let's take this song, for example. I checked the BPMs. This says 125. This one says 125. They're both the same BPM, so I know I don't need to touch the volume faders. I don't need to adjust anything. Oh, actually, I just saw I had sync on. Sync should be off. So actually, I was wrong. This one's 126. This one's 125. I'm going to pull this down just by 1, so it's at 125 BPM. I can see we're getting close to the section, so I'm going to start tapping in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I'm a little bit late, so I'm going to start adjusting it. All right, now it feels locked in. I can start fading in this song. Now you're going to start hearing it. You can hear that in the background. Now I cut out. I'm in the new song. Now, if I was trying to blend a longer section of the song together, what I probably would be doing is kind of moving between these two faders back and forth. I would be slowly increasing this up and down. I think I could actually show that off a little bit better with another tune. So let's actually grab this track right here, and then I will mix in from that point. Because like this song, like I mentioned, this song has a weird gap in it. That's where you would count the 1. So now we're keeping that 1 count. I'm gonna go get a different song. Same exact process. I'm gonna flip the bass. So now this song that's playing has the low end. This song does not. I'm gonna set the Q up on this song. I'm gonna check the BPM. This says 125. This says 126. I'm gonna move this down to 125. Or if I want to increase the tempo with a playing song, I could slowly, especially in builds. Builds are a good place to increase tempo because everything's already building in intensity. Now this is at 126. They're the same BPM. Now right now I'm just kind of trying to hear it. Alright, so it feels good. So at this next section, I'm going to start this song. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I'm a little bit early. So I'm going to pull this back a little bit. Now it sounds like they're on. So I can start fading this in. Slowly fading it in. Now, they're both up. Start slowly changing the bass. Now they're both playing. And slowly start fading out this song on the right. You hear the vocals playing in the background faintly. I might start fading this out a little bit. And just like that, we're in the next song. So the core steps are always going to be that. Step 1, find the new song. Find the new song that you want to mix into. Make sure that the tempos are the same. If they're not, either increase the tempo of the track that's currently playing, avoid sections that have a consistent rhythm, and focus on sections that are more ambient or have build elements so that they're raising tension, or set the track you're mixing into to your current tempo. When do you start introducing? After 8 bars of the drop. So it depends on the song. And this is one of the reasons why I set those markers on like 16 bar divisions. So I can kind of see and reference, and I also can know that like generally, since every 8 bars, there's going to be a new part of the song. As long as I'm sort of counting in the back of my head, like we said way back before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and a repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. Now a section change. 1. As long as I'm focusing on that and making sure that the sections generally align. So if I'm at the intro of a song, I should probably be in the outro or the drop of another song. If I'm in a breakdown, I should probably be in a breakdown or a build of the new song. I should make sure that the energy levels of the sections are close. Now, watch what happens when I am at this sparse section here. And then I start off this section with drums, right? 3, 4. Kind of feels weird, right? Doesn't quite fit. Like all of a sudden it feels like we're in a different part of the song. Or if I'm on this track that's more sparse, and I start with this one. 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. New section. Like, there's moments where it can work, but when we're adding in this song, see how it feels really weird? It feels kind of awkward. It feels like we're not really matching what's going on. This is why it's important to listen to your songs before you DJ them. And I know this sounds confusing, but I know a lot of people who just listen to a song, they listen to the intro, they listen to the build, they listen to the drop, and they download it and put it in their set. I know a lot of people who do that. And it's really not that useful. Do you have any tips on how to make songs with a section of a transition have different lengths, like an 8-bar build and a track with a 16-bar build? So when songs are not exactly the same, I would focus in on sort of, like I said, just listening to the song and figuring out like where would the comfortable transition point be. If you have a song with an 8-bar build and a 16-bar build, it's more likely that I will mix into the 8-bar build from the 16-bar build. Like, for example, if I have a song that has a drop I really like, and then another song that has a build I really like, but the build song is 16 bars and the drop song has 8 bars. What I'd probably do is I'd probably queue up the song with the shorter build in the track that I'm mixing into, or the deck that I'm mixing into. Then I would start that on the second half of the 16-bar build, and I would mix it in that way so that the two builds have similar sort of energy levels, and then I cut the older song at the drop of the newer song. That would be my general way of going about it. You can also do different looping points, which we can get into. So for example, let's say I am going to the end of this drop right here. So we're going to listen to the end of this drop and see how it feels. Because this right here is not a 16 bar drop. This is a 24 bar drop. So it wouldn't necessarily work one-to-one if I just started another song's drop or another song's intro at that, and I'll show you. I'm going to start this a little bit before, and then at the drop, I'm going to start playing this song and mixing it in, and I want you to hear what happens. And this will be sort of similar to the scenario that Crown is talking about, okay? Also, one thing I haven't mentioned that I've been doing, because I do that instinctively, is as I'm listening to the new track, like as I'm listening, I'm feeling that pulse, and then I'm usually tapping in. I'm like tapping in that little count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because then I'm already kind of in the rhythm, and so when the section I want to mix into starts, I can just go press and hold. We're on the beat, press the play button, and we're good to go. So I'll show you on this one because it's a bit more visual. This is kind of blocked by my webcam. But what I would do is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of feeling the pulse. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Press the play button because it's locked in. Good to go. Keep moving, right? So now we're gonna do that little problem case scenario. I'm gonna move this back a little bit. At the drop, I'm gonna mix into this track. You're not gonna be able to hear it until I start fading it in, but you will definitely be able to hear that this stops too early and the sections will mismatch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3. No, it's not. It's not, Justin. I'll explain in a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm going to start mixing in. So, you know, here, I would start doing my normal mix out stuff to transition. Oh. What's going on? So there, we're in the wrong section. So how would I save that if I didn't notice? And this is kind of getting into that tip, Crown, because what I would normally do is I wouldn't start the mix here, because this is the intro of a 24 bar section. I can kind of see here there's 3 different boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Here's where I'd mix in. Right there, because I can see on the actual waveform right here that there are these 3 little boxes. I know it's kind of blurry, but you can kind of see there's like a little divot right there. There's a little divot right there, and then there's that break. As you get used to looking at DJ software, you'll get used to seeing 8 or 16 bar chunks. So this is like a 16 bar section. This is like a 16 bar section. This is 16, so that means one of those is 8. And that helps a lot. That helps a lot for me. Let's see. Is you make hot cue 16 bars before the drop ends, also more fast-paced and 16 bar grid. Yes, so that's why I would suggest maybe not doing that. And instead of using hot cues, use memory cues. There's a difference. A hot cue, you tap it and it starts playing. A memory cue, you set it and you have to mix in from it. I strongly recommend don't mix with hot cues. Don't mix with hot cues, mix with memory cues, and use hot cues for effects and to save yourself. Now, let's talk about the scenario where I accidentally started this song too early, right? Keep this going. Tapping in. Oh yeah, and Justin, this is not a tap BPM. This doesn't tap the BPM. I've already set the BPMs. Up so that the BPMs are locked in. I use the tempo fader, this thing right here, to set the BPMs to be the same. Are you able to set memory cues on Rekordbox? Yes, you can Quickie, you can. I have memory cues here. I'll show you real quick. Thank you, Lavon Denoir, for that follow. But as you see here, when I press this button, it jumps to different sections of the song. That's separate from the hot cue. I actually don't have any hot cues set on this song yet, but that will hopefully help you out a little bit. Okay, so let me set one then. I'll set a hot cue on the hit before the drop right here. So right now I'm just setting up the hot cue. So that's going to be our hot cue, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to perform. I'm going to press A. So that just set up the hot cue, right? You can see now there's a little red marker right there that wasn't there before. Now, if I have a memory cue, if I go to a memory cue, let me set this down a little bit. I need to get a third webcam if I'm going to be doing these DJ streams because this is a mess. There we go. Okay, so if I go to a memory cue, press these, doesn't play at all. It does not start playing. If I press the A button here, song starts playing. So I can use that to automatically go in. When do you usually want hot cues? Well, I already mentioned that, Quickie. So I mentioned that before. If you want to go back in the VOD, you can check it out. But I use hot cues for three things. One, I use them to kind of instantly jump to the pre-drop hit, whether that is the pre-drop vocal or the pre-drop drum fill, just so I can quickly go into a drop, right? Can we loop that? Yes. I believe you can set a hot cue to be a looping hot cue where you press it and it loops. I don't remember how to do that on Rekordbox, or I don't remember how to do it on the CDJ. You can do it inside of Rekordbox, but I don't remember how to do it on the actual controller. But the other big thing I use is if I have a hit or something, let's say I like that hit right there. Like that little low right there. I can use it to kind of live perform that hit. So that is why I save hot cues for specific scenarios. Yeah, hot cues just jumps to that point and starts playing. Memory cues jump to that point and don't start playing. That's why I focus on memory cues and I use hot cues as a performance tool, right? So, with all that out of the way, let's focus in on this scenario, right? Let's focus in on this scenario where this song right here is starting at the wrong spot on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the perform here, and I have these little buttons below the hotkeys. This is going to be a beat loop of a half a beat, 2 beats, 4 beats, 8 beats, and 16 beats. Okay? 4 beats would be 1 bar, right? Now it's just going to play those 4 beats. over and over and over and over and over and over and over. As long as I have that open. You can even set them on these. Don't worry about that. You can set loops in your in your DJ programs, nice and easy. So you can figure that out on your own time. I wouldn't worry about that too much. But that's what we're going to be doing. Once we realize that these things are mismatched, we're going to find a loop point on here, and then we're going to use our knowledge of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. Now there's section, or 4, now a small change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Now there's a new section on that last count of 4. So if we set a 4-beat loop, and then we wait until those two sections are linked up again in the next 8-bar grouping, you're always going to be safe. So now we're going to play this. As soon as this drop hits, I'm going to mix into this. Tapping my rhythm to get it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, I've gotten used to beat matching, so my rhythms are usually pretty locked in. Oh, these are not locked in. This song's now looping. 1. This is on the 1, right? Now at this next 1, I get to let go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're safe. Okay, start mixing. Oh, I got it wrong actually. Oops, I actually miscounted. So I fucked up there actually. Even when trying to show it off, I fucked up. Did I miscount? Oh, I was like 1 bar off, but whoops. But still, yeah, nobody saw anything. You got the concept, right? You got the concept. So, whoops. But hey, remember, everyone who is at the show is going to be drunk. No one's going to be paying attention. If you make little minor mess-ups like that, it's going to be okay. Yeah, get comfy with emergency loops. That's the core. Let's see. How do you set up your stream stuff? Where do you put all the notifications about followers and such? Where do you have the stream chat? You can kind of see them. Like, well, chat's right here. This is where I have stream chat right here. This is you. This is your question right here. Thank you to Lich Dog for that follow. Thank you so much. How's it going, Coz? And in terms of follow notifications, they're usually just right here in the center of the screen. That's how I do it. Everyone's gonna have their own different way. My best suggestion would be to honestly go look at the people who have the you have to make sure you have the like the list of people, but like go on to Twitch, look for who has the most followers and look at what they do. Honestly, that's literally what I did. Like I watch people who have like 3, 4, 5, 8, 10,000 viewers at a time, and I just honestly, I literally steal their ideas. I literally just do what they do. You can press a beat cue, so it can quickie. But what I'm doing here, I'll show you. So there's 2 different things here, real quick. So these are the hot cues. And then there's these things right here. And that's like a nice little performance tool. It's a nice little thing you can use. So that is usually, here we go. That's usually how you do that. Did you see the chat yourself? Yes, I do. I have the chat up in 2 different ways. I'll show you. This is what I see. this is what I see. There's your chat over there on the right. This is how I see everything. This is how I have everything set up. You can see the scene. I can see all these different things right here. This is the scene with the DJ stuff right here. So that's how I have that set up. But now's not really the time, Absolute No Sounds. If you notice, we're literally doing a class right now. Are you sure now is the best time to have me stop literally everything in the class to teach you how to stream? Is now the best time? Or maybe could you like try DMing me so that I'm like able to teach people, maybe? That'd be cool. Can you loop 2 bars, 4 bars, 8 bars? Yeah, you can. You can loop in different sections. Different DAWs will have different lengths. And you can also use these buttons right here to set an in point and an out point for longer loops. The quick loops are a half a beat, 2, 4, 8, and 16 beats, which is to say quarter notes. So 16 beats is 4 quarter notes, or 4 groups of 4. So this is 4 bars, this is 2 bars, this is 1 bar. That is usually how I approach it. How's it going, Dragon Effect? Still running on. Yeah, there's so many different options. But this is why I'm saying, Quickie, don't worry about it. Try and ignore everything up here. Ignore all of these things. These don't exist anymore. Okay? These are no longer a thing. These are invisible. Okay, Quickie? For everyone, these don't exist. These do not exist. All you have right now is a platter, a tempo fader, a cue and play button, volume faders, cross faders, filters, and EQs. That's all you need to DJ. That's all you need to DJ. So that's all we're really working with. Now, what I think would be good now would be if we talked a little bit about mixing songs at different tempos, right? So if I go to, let's see, look for something that's at the right tempo. So I'm going to pick, so this song is, thank you to Lich Dog for that Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Means a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix from this song on the right to this song on the left. We're going to beat match, not just in terms of making sure the tempos are aligned, because I'm going to show you how they sound when they're not lined up. And then I'm going to show you how to use this instead of pushing and pulling like this. Because this is common to do like these nice little nudging adjustments I was showing you before, but this can cause issues. For example, if I have a section with big long pads like this right here. Thank you to Korg thank you to Justin for that gift sub to Korg. Thank you so much. Now 3 away from 115. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are X away from Y, ladies and gentlemen. We are currently X away from Y. We are currently technically 3. It says 4, but we're currently 3 subs away from 115 subs. The next goal is almost met, which is fucking sick. Thank you, Bass Curtis, for that follow. But listen to this section, right?
Everybody, 'cause it's on the same thing. 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 Everybody spotlight fades. Running over time, stuck in overdrive. It doesn't
Feels a little bit weird, right?
'cause it's on the way.
And if you're doing that while the track is playing, and other people can hear it, doesn't seem to work that well. But if I'm in this section and I start to sort of like slowly increasing the tempo a little bit,
Everybody fronts, everybody
and push it back down.
same thing.
Oh, but still not off yet.
Fades.
Turn this up.
Running over time, stuck in overdrive. It doesn't
Turn this back down. No one hears anything. Yeah, I usually keep key lock on. What Funkmod is saying is there's this button right here and this button right here that's called master tempo. What this does is it locks in the tempo to the key of the song. So if I have this off, you hear that?
Everybody fronts, everybody drops. It's all the same thing. When the spotlight
Some really clear changes there. But if I speed up the tempo a little bit, it's not as obvious. Now it does change sort of the temp or the pitch a little bit, because obviously when you're playing something faster, the pitch gets higher because, you know, a higher frequency sound is just a faster oscillation. And when you slow a track down, it's going to get lower in pitch. And yeah, this is like a warp button. Acceleration versus impulse. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I personally like to keep it on because I'm usually not doing very drastic BPM changes. And I find that like it helps with the harmonic mixing, but most people, or not most people, but a lot of people don't. And you don't have to. You do not have to. You can do it in terms of making it consistent. And yeah, key lock can make the low end weird. That's very true. And that's why like a lot of dubstep people are not going to do it. But for plenty of other styles, it's fine. I just keep it on out of habit. But yeah, it is something to definitely keep an eye on. And if you find that the music is sounding weird, don't be afraid to turn it off. Don't be afraid to turn it off. So you can change the tempo with the slider and the wheel. The slider is more subtle. Sort of, okay, Parker. So when I'm doing this right here, what I'm doing is I'm nudging the tempo temporarily. So it's only a slight change and it comes back. Slows down, comes back up. Comes back to the tempo. When I do this, it's going to be more subtle, but it's going to stay at that tempo until I change it back. And yeah, Justin, when I'm pushing the Q button, I'm mostly listening for the kick drum, which we're going to get into how that can be a problem in some songs in a second. I have a couple of examples of songs where it's risky to listen for the kick, especially if you're starting at the beginning of a song. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's kind of like getting into two cars right next to each other. It's kind of like a gas and a brake. Yes. Yeah. Very good idea. Very good comment, Funkmod. Where like this is like you're pumping on the brakes a little bit. You're just pumping on the brakes a little bit just to get it to work. Whereas this, you're playing with the accelerator to make sure that the overall speed matches. So now we're gonna play these songs, and then I'm going to start bringing in this track on the left. We're going to play it. Because I can usually 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start it on. But boy, is that a mess. Man, that's a big cacophony. There's so much bullshit going on. DJ Coolman. Yes, indeed, Coffee Lake. What's going on, bud? So, how do we fix this? Well, ideally, your tempos are locked in, and you know what the tempo is. If not, this is going to get really, really tough. This is going to get really, really hard. But you can do it. What you would want to do is, I would personally, essentially, like, play a bar. Like I'd find a section here. Let's loop this for 16 beats just so we can get this going. All right, so I could tell that the next 4-bar section here, the next 4-bar section on this track on the left CDJ is hitting earlier than this one. So now I know this track is too fast. So what I can do is start to lower the tempo fader until it feels like they're starting to line up. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now I feel like we're getting closer. So now I'm just riding this fader up and down. Now we're good. Now they sound like they're lined up. It took mostly just me kind of pulling this up and down, just trying to see by my ears, kind of, does it feel like it's locking in? Does it, again, like I was saying, does it feel like the kick drum on this or the percussion on this track is hitting after this kick drum? Is like a boot, 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 or is it a ba-doom, 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 where it's coming before? If it's coming before, ba-doom, 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 then that means your song is too fast. You need to slow this song down. If you're hearing ba-doom, 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 it means that this track is too slow and you need to fix, or you need to speed it up. Are you doing that with the mixer preview button? Usually, yeah. I have this playing for you to hear it, but typically this is done with this fader down and the cue on the track that is being adjusted. Yeah, I would not do that while it's playing. So now we know the song should be at 126, right about here. So now we're going to use just the volume faders to adjust it. This is correct. Now we're going to get the timing off and we're going to fix it, okay? I'm actually going to make sure the loop is on for this one. 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now it's the time for the next loop. Let's go. I actually got that on by accident. I need to do it late. I forgot. Right? So now we'll be a little bit late. So it seems like it's happening later. So I'm going to slow this down. There you go. All right. So by slowly adjusting this, I can hear things align. Now, this is actually not the best example. And can anyone tell me why this is not the best example? Can anyone tell me why this is not the best example? I'll give you a hint. What are we missing from this? What are we missing from this song in the intro? Yeah, there's no kick. There's no main percussion. Now, this is actually a decent example because it has a consistent rhythm. So we can work with that. But now, let me show you another example. Where was the kick drum or any real percussion in that intro? That one's gonna be insanely tough to DJ into. So that's why I have these memory cues, so I could start this song on this section. And that would be a much easier section to mix into. Alternately, this would be a very good song to start your set with. Because the intro is so ambient, because the intro has such a small amount of percussion, that's actually really good to start a set or to restart a set. For example, in this song on the right, if I turn off the cue, just let it play. Has its own little thing going on. It's about 16 bars. Grooving, going along. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. New section. It almost feels like a natural ending point because everything's fading out there. So at that little pitch drop right there, I could actually pretty safely just drop into this tune. So let's go back a little bit and let's see how that sounds, right? I'm just gonna hit play and fade this out, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Feels nice and natural. This is ending on something with no energy in terms of the rhythm. We completely kill the rhythm on this song. It's a sparse section. We have stuff fading in, which we would probably want to avoid hearing if it's off. But those types of breaks are a really good place, exactly like Funk Might is saying. If you want to transition tempos, if you want to transition genres, if you want to have sections that are very disparate from each other, looking for sections of songs that have very sparse kind of transitions out of a section will be really good for, again, sparse intros or transitions to different genres and stuff like that. I would switch off the deck like you did at the start of the stream. Yeah, I totally get that. Like where you're spin down, stuff like that. Totally. So I think that's most of the things that I would want to focus on for mixing. Because everything else is just curation. Everything else is just taste making and track selection. When you have all of these fundamental skills under your belt, that is it. You've all officially learned how to DJ. I don't think there's really much else you need to know. There's stuff that's like helpful, stuff that enhances the DJ performance, stuff that makes it a lot easier for you to DJ. But in terms of learning to DJ, congratulations. You've all done it. You are all officially able to DJ because you know how to use a platter, you know how to use a tempo fader, you know how to use cue and play buttons, you know how to mix with volume faders as this track is coming out. I'm pulling this down. As this track's coming in, I pull this up. You know how to use crossfaders here. You know how to use these things, and you know how to use these things. You've learned everything you really need to know to DJ. Now comes the hard part. Who's ready for the hard part? Of actually making the songs sound good together. Who's ready to learn how to actually be a good DJ? Next up, EDC. Yes. So now we're going to talk about things like key matching. We're going to talk about things like playlist making. And we're going to talk about the different ways you can transition between sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very simple DJ set. I just have a couple of songs. You've heard most of them already. And then, thanks for the follow, Absolute No Sounds. And then, I'm going to tell you kind of what my thought process was for this. So this will be a nice short little mix. And we're going to go through that. So I think I want to start with that ambient track we talked about. before, and then we'll go through there, okay? So forgive me if I don't talk as much here.
The irony of finding comfort in empty space. No time to slow down. So fresh, so clean. Don't you think I'm so sexy? I'm just so fresh, so clean. Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh, so clean, 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 clean. Love it when you stare at me. I'm just so fresh, so clean. Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh, so clean. Don't you think I'm so sexy? I'm just so fresh, so clean. Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh, so clean. Love it when you stare at me. I'm just so fresh, so clean. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I am for real. Oh, oh. Never meant to make your daughter cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I am for real. Oh,
Alrighty, apart from that one little minor hiccup at the end, because I did something I don't normally do, which is try and live cut a loop, but yeah, sorry about that. So, anyways, the idea was I listened to all these tracks beforehand, and I kind of planned out this set roughly, but I figured it would be a really good way to show off a couple of different concepts. The track list, so we started off with this song right here, which this is No Time by Barely Alive off the We Are Barely Alive EP. That was the first song we had. Then we had this song right here, which is Moves Like Miss Jackson by Zhu, Z-H-U. That was one of his breakout records. After that, we had this song right here, which is The Chase by GTA and Laidback Luke. After that, we had two versions of the same song. First, we had the original version of Deep Down Low by Valentino Khan. And then, for the second drop, I used the VIP of Deep Down Low. And it did kind of a slower version of the drop flip, where I had these two builds match up, and then I just switched to the other drop at the end of the song. Just for kind of a live mashup of the two versions of the song. And then the very last song I used was Skrillex's Fuck That off of Recess. Now, I don't know if you necessarily noticed certain things about those tracks, but I had a specific order in mind for them, that I was using two different concepts. One, I was focusing on the keys of the songs. So if we go through the list of songs, No Time, the very first song, is in the key of F minor. Moves Like Miss Jackson is also in the key of F minor. So they're the same key. I don't have to worry about anything. They're just going to sound good because they're in the same genre and the same key. And I believe they're actually close to the same BPM. No Time is 128. Moves Like Miss Jackson is 125. There's 3 BPM difference. Not too huge, not the end of the world. And yeah, this is Camelot wheel mixing, which you'll see people talk about. The Camelot wheel is just the DJ's version of the Circle of Fifths. I'll pull this up actually real quick just so you can see. So if I hop over to this one right here, this is Mixed in Key. This is the program that I personally use. Whoops, let's go in and move me down here and move me up so you can see me. Boop. Whoops, wrong one. Where's my webcam? Boop. There we go. Okay, there's me. Hi. Okay, so mixed in key uses this thing over here called the Camelot wheel. And the Camelot wheel is literally just the circle of fifths. This is literally just the circle of fifths presented differently. So F minor is seen as the key 4A, and then you go 5A C minor, 6A G minor, 3A B flat minor, and then you can see B is the major keys. So if you took 8B and moved this up to the top, you'd have the circle of fifths. It is the exact same thing. It is the exact same thing as a circle of fifths. It's meant to be easier for DJs to understand because instead of trying to think F minor is the fourth of C minor, so I'm going up a fifth when I'm transitioning here. F minor is the fifth of B flat minor, so I'm going down a fourth when I'm going here. That's a lot to keep in mind if you're not used to thinking about music theory. So instead, all you have to know is you can go up one letter or down one letter to be mixing in key. And you can also go from A to B on the same number for it to also be in key. So I can go from 4A to 5A or 4A to 3A, and I know it will always work. This is a really common thing. You don't necessarily need to do this, like I said. Thank you, Erasing, for that follow. But it is helpful. It is helpful. I use mixed in key personally. But again, it's not essential. It's not a requirement to DJ. The other big thing that I focused on, or actually I guess we should, well, before we move on, of all the things you talked about here, hearing the keys. Well, that's why the harmonic mixing thing, Parker, is they have the programs, and most softwares will use that Camelot key system so you can kind of see it, and you can just kind of go based off of that, where all you're trying to do is say that if you're going up one letter, or up one number from 3A to 4A, or going down one letter from 3A to 2A, or vice or so on, it's going to work fine. Don't worry about the key stuff. That comes with music theory, which you don't necessarily need to DJ. So the first two songs were totally in key, right? First two songs were totally in key. The next song I added was The Chase by Laidback Luke and GTA. Now, this is not in F minor, but it is in C minor, which, as we just saw, is going from 4A to 5A. So we are moving up in the circle of fifths, and it sounded good. Going from The Chase to both versions of Deep Down Low, both versions of Deep Down Low are in the key of G minor. G is the fifth of C. So I'm just climbing up the circle of fifths there. And then going from Deep Down Low to the Skrillex song, Fuck That, I'm going from G to D. So again, I'm just going up the circle of fifths. I could at some point go down. And like, for example, I could go from maybe Fuck That into another song in G minor to kind of have a brief foray into the key of D and then come back. But the idea is I'm constantly looking at where it is. To rephrase, you can mix into any number immediately adjacent to you, and you can use the relative major or minor keys available to you, switching from A to B and vice versa. Exactly, Descendants. Will the stream be in the VOD? Yeah, the VOD will be up. The VOD will be up. I promise. The other important concept that I was working in, I wasn't doing necessarily style or theme-based mixing. I feel like the style of the songs were generally pretty disparate. There was a lot of difference between them, but they were all kind of deep house. They were all in the same basic world of music. They were in the same general BPM range, and I had a natural succession of energy level. Let's go back through the tracks. Listen to the drop of this song right here. It's nice and fun. It's nice and chill. Now let's listen to this drop. Generally, around the same energy level. It feels like it's at about the same energy level, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. but it's very close together in terms of its energy level. Now, going from this song right here into this tempo, or to this song, increasing the energy, right? This is not a huge jump. It's not a huge jump in energy, but I'm ramping that up. Now, let's go to Deep Down Low. I'm only going to show you one, but it's going to be the same for both songs. They're basically the same energy level. Clearly, way more energy. Way more distortion. Way more groovy. So I was slowly ramping up the energy level, the amount of stuff going on, the amount of frequency changes, the amount of distortion, or the amount of power, kind of what I kind of subjectively interpret as the energy of that song. And then when we go back to Fuck That, this song is actually slightly lower in energy. So I can go up and down, but the idea is I want to keep the energy levels close together. Now, if I start off with Moves Like Miss Jackson, this one right here, and then I go to Deep Down Low, let's see how this feels. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't it feel kind of disjointed? Doesn't it feel like we've kind of jumped? Like, whoa, what happened? Yeah, it's very jarring. Now, that can be a good effect sometimes, depending upon where you're at in the set and depending upon what's happening in the songs. Sometimes you can get away with that, but typically you don't want to have such huge changes. Also, Quickie, it's technically compatible. You got to be careful with it, Quickie. You got to be kind of careful with it. And what I would suggest doing is, don't be afraid to go in and use Mixed Key to analyze, and then when it doesn't copy over, just go in and do it. That's what I'm going to be spending the next month doing, because we're in this quarantine, is I'm literally going to be going through my entire Rekordbox crate library and reanalyzing all the keys, making sure everything is right, setting all the beat grids, setting all my hot cues, because I actually lost my DJ library when I had to change computers. I have all the files, but I don't have all the data. So I have to completely redo all of my crates. And it's going to be painful and it's going to be annoying, but it's worth it because then I have all this stuff set up. But that is sort of where I go in when I'm DJing. I'm not 100% one of those theme mixing DJs like Laid Back Luke. I don't really think about songs in terms of this song is very tribal, this song is very tribal, this song is very deep, this song is very deep. I think about it in terms of these all live in kind of this broad umbrella of what I would personally call deep house. These all are some variation on the deep house sound. Their energy levels are different, their keys are different. As long as I'm keeping an eye on what their energy levels are and I'm not jumping too much, I can work pretty much wherever I want. What if I'd only mix dubstep, it's all F140? Well, then your job's a lot easier than mine, right? Your job is also a lot easier than mine. Rhythm chopping tutorial went. Well, we'll get to that. I want to introduce people to different genres over time. I want to do more DJ tutorials because this was actually super, super fun. I actually had a lot of fun with this, and I want to do this again. But what I want to do now is move into DJing. Thank you, OK Parker, for that follow. Move into DJing on DJ software, showing you a similar basic process, and then we're going to probably end the stream with a little Q&A, answer any questions people have, and then for the next stream, we're going to talk about higher energy level mixing. We're going to talk about mixing songs with aggressive drops. After that, I want to do something that kind of scales it back. I want to talk about like just the long mixes, like really just like blending two songs together over their like pretty much their entire lifetime, and kind of crossfading between different tracks and blending things with EQs. We're gonna get into all of that stuff, but what I want you all to do is start looking for songs that you can DJ. Now, right now, I would say it doesn't necessarily matter if they are the best songs or not. The important things for me are that they have a consistent BPM, they follow a DJ-friendly format, which is to say they have a drum intro, a breakdown, some sort of build, a drop, another break, another build, a drop, and an outro. Just like standard DJ format. There's not going to be any big changes. There's not going to be any major shifts in the different songs. They should all be generally around the same BPM. And what I want you all to do is I just want you to practice basic beat matching. That's all I want you to do. You're going to be doing it in the software like me in a second, but that's all I want you to do. Song on deck A, playing. Song on deck B, volume down. You can either do it with volume faders like I have, where I turn up the volume and turn down the volume as the songs are playing, or you can also use this smooth crossover fader to have this song up and then crossfade into this song and then crossfade back over. You can do whichever one you're more comfortable with, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Try them both. See what you like better. This requires two different actions. I need to maybe pull this up while I'm pulling this down, so I kind of have to split my focus. Same with these slow mixing things. Whereas with this one, I can just move one thing. Thank you, Rock Hard T, for that follow. And you're just going to mix back and forth between a couple of songs. I recommend house. I recommend techno. I recommend kind of the deeper styles of dubstep, and I recommend liquid drum and bass. I recommend genres that have very, very long sections that you can kind of practice mixing back and forth, where they're basically just the same sounds, like an intro into an intro, a drop into a drop, a break into a break. You just want to make sure you can get those groupings locked into your head. But now what I want to do is first sit down, because I've been standing for like 2 hours. And then we're going to switch into some DJ software stuff. Okay? So let's pull this down. Minimal house. Yeah, there's so many things you can do. All right, so let's pull this up. And let's go over to here. All right, so this is Virtual DJ, right? This is the Virtual DJ software. When you first start off, you'll have this. I recommend you go through these tutorials. This will be really, really helpful. Where's a good source to find music? I would say SoundCloud or Beatport if you're willing to spend some money. And if you don't have, here, I'll say this. If you don't have any songs at all, DM me on Discord. Hit me up on Discord, !Discord for a link to the server. You can find me in there. Just shoot me a DM, and I can give you a group of tracks that'll be really, really easy for you to mix with. I'm going to give you all of my tech house songs, and I will assure you, if you're trying to DJ and you want to learn, tech house is like the best genre to learn on, because it's like 64 drop sections or 64 bar sections, and it's just the most minimal bullshit ever. It's just like there's no thought process whatsoever when you're DJing tech house. I'm not saying that as a diss on tech house DJs. They do a lot of things that are really cool, but if you are learning to DJ, tech house is like so easy that you'll have no problems. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just grab a couple of songs. Let me go ahead and grab the tracks I just uploaded. We're gonna use the same songs that we just worked with, and I'm gonna show you how it works. So let's grab this, drag this in here. Oh, come on. All right, so let's just grab some of these songs and grab this one. Excuse me, why are you not loading up the stuff? Come on. Not importing. Hold on. How do you do this? This is my first time using Virtual DJ, so forgive me. How do I just add songs? Is there not something to add a song to this? What? Sorry, this is my first time using Virtual DJ, so I apologize. You literally have to log in to do that? You literally have to do that. 480 people. Are there really 480 people watching this? No, I have 30 viewers. I have 30 viewers. It's free to log in. All right. So let's see. Let's log in real quick. Google, why not? All right. Cool. Okay, now it's working. Yeah. Now it's working. Sorry about that. Let's drag all these in. Maybe not. Oh, there we go. Maybe. Why is it just not? It's just not working. Hold on. Thank you for the follow, Renju. Sorry, first time. You're learning with me. See, but this is what I don't get. Well, it's okay. I'm just gonna drag them in. Oh, it won't read them. It's not reading the songs. Really? Oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this isn't working. There we go. Now we got a song working. I apologize. Okay, there we go. All right. So let's grab this. Let's grab this. Come on, work with me here. There we go. Okay. So we got a song working. All right, cool. Sorry about that. Okay. So now we have all the same. Yeah, we got it working. So what we have here is two tracks. We can see they're at different BPMs. Why does it say? Is it BPM 126? This is not 125. See, and this is where you can start to see things are not as simple as they immediately appear. You can see this is set 125.994. I know for a fact this is 126. So I'm going to set that up just to make sure. Now we have the two songs. And I'm going to show you how to DJ with just your mouse, right? So, same sort of process, right? Got a song playing. This song's now off. Low pass on. You can see same sort of controls, right? We have Q. We have play. We have a sync button. We have a tempo fader right here. Remember, all the same things exist. This is the Q button right here. That's your Q. If you had separate outputs, you would be able to hear the stuff through the headphones. And then we have the 3-band EQ. So this is why I was saying you don't need to have any other thing, just cues, plays, tempo faders, the actual jog wheel thing, which I don't know how you would nudge this, I guess like that. So this is actually where the fader mixing would come in handy. Let me set this back to 125. And so let's just do a quick little mix, right? Song's playing. I want this to be at 125. Let's slowly pull this down. Can you please? Can I just type it in? have to like gently do it. There's really no like fine control here. I'm just gonna match it. But now tap to get yourself into the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit off. Looks like it's ahead, so I'm gonna slow this down a little bit. Go the other direction maybe. And then match. Whoops, I messed that up. So let's try that again. I haven't used this software, so forgive me if I mess up sometimes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, looks like they're lined up. Maybe a little bit off. So let's start blending this one in. Start pulling this low end out. Pull this up. Start fading this out.
Everybody fronts, everybody talks, it's all the same thing. When the spotlight
Now that was a little scuffed.
fades,
I'll admit that was a little scuffed, but that is the process. You could also do it again with the fader this way. This is playing. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit off. Speed it up a smidge. It's hard to do that, honestly. So I don't blame people for having trouble. Yeah, one hand, right? 3, 4. Counting in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they're locked in. Crossfade it over. So, DJing on software like this with no controller is totally possible. Obviously, there's more that you'd like to be able to do. If you have access to any MIDI controllers, you can definitely make this a little bit easier. You can assign MIDI controllers to these different things. That'll make adjusting these a lot easier. Like if I had this attached to some sort of tempo fader on like one of my controllers, that would be awesome because then I could just kind of beat match that way without having to click. But I will say there is also no shame if you are only using a mouse. If you're only using a mouse, don't be afraid to enable beat sync if you're having a lot of trouble. If you're having too much trouble, don't be afraid to sync it up just to make sure that you have things aligned. But try to get into the practice of beat matching. Try to get into the practice of just tapping things out. There's nothing wrong with also like going to a section of the song. And let's go to the drop. So there's our drop. Let's make sure we're on that cue. Which this cue is actually off, I noticed. I just noticed that. So that's another thing. You want to make sure your beat grids are set. But you could set in a loop, which I don't know how to do that on here. Here we go. Set a little loop here. And then go to this song's intro. And start practicing. 1, 2, 3, 4. sounds like about right, right? One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit off. Now you can try matching them up. See how they eventually line up? Like that. You can have some fun. All right, chop some rhythm now. Yeah. Obviously, I'm doing a bit of stuff here. It's a bit tough, but you can play around with this. This is actually a good time to actually talk about beat gridding, like analyzing your software, analyzing the music in your software. So let's go to this chorus, right? Let's just go look at Pro for a second because this will help me out. Because I just want to look in on this, right? Let's make sure the loop is off. And let's go to this right here. Let's zoom in on this kick drum, right? We can see the transient of the kick drum right there. You can even hear it right there. The tempo is correct, the beat grid is not. This is why I keep saying you can't always trust these things up here. You can't trust these little divots right here because this is not lined up. So what we need to do is we actually need to go in and we need to fix the beat grid. We actually need to be able to adjust this. And different software is going to have different ways of doing it. You can see this right here. We can go in, we can find the downbeat right here. We can start to align this essentially. Let's move this up to the drop. You can see right there where the downbeat hits. Mark off that with a little thing. And this should work. I don't know why it's not working, but this should be locking in here. I just want to adjust this. Nope, don't do those. Oh, that's points of interest editor. I don't want that. I want the beats per minute grid. I want to be able to edit the actual beat grid. And I don't know how to do this on here, but there is a way. There is a way to actually set this. The beats on the, yeah, I'm talking about the beats on the waveform. So do you see these lines right here? See how we have this like light gray line right here, this light gray line right here, and then we have like this blue line right here. And then if I move over a little bit, you can kind of see there's a red line right there. Those are the markers on the program that determine where the pulses are when they're checking the BPM. It's not always going to be exact. It's usually pretty close. Like for this one, once I set the tempo right, it locked in perfectly. For this one, it's a little bit off. So you need to use whatever software you have, a beat grid editor, which I don't know where that is. This is a point of interest editor, and I don't want that. I want actually just the markers. I just want to edit the beat grid, and this is probably why. There we go, BPM editor right there. Set this to 125 and see if that works. If I cue in right here, is that going to be actually locked in right? No. So what you want to do is then go in. I guess you right click here to go to points of interest editor, click on this to go to the beats per minute editor, and then you can go in and really start lining things up right on that transient, because this song does not actually start on the downbeat. Notice how there's a little offset here. Some songs will do stuff like this. It won't be perfectly on. Matzo actually started the vocal before the downbeat. If I play this song now, now it's locked in. But if I go back to the beginning, this right here is the downbeat of the hit. if I turn on a metronome, is there a metronome in here somewhere? I don't know if there's a metronome in Virtual DJ. I think it's this. No, it's master tempo. Sorry, I'm just double checking. If there's not, I wish there was, but some DAWs have oh no, it would be here, right? That lines up, right? Now, if I set this back to where it was like 124.9, listen to that same metronome. Move this back here. Whoops. Set this to 124.9. Notice how it slowly starts moving off. That's not what you want. So make sure the beat grid's locked in. Make sure that when you zoom in on the waveform, it's hitting on the transient. Different software will have different ways of doing this, okay? But now, this is locked in. You can see this is not exactly on. This is go here. And it follows in exactly. You might have to do that for some songs. Most songs won't. You will just have to make sure the BPM is locked in. And you're good to go. And I think... I like this view. Thank you, Zessa Shuk, for that follow. And then once you have that set up, really all you're trying to do is, again, learn how to move between these two. You can use this, turn this stuff down, blend over, blend this to the middle, switch these two EQs, blend over here, or you can start with this down, play this track, slowly pull this in, flip the EQs, and then slowly fade this track out. Okay? So, Virtual DJ is free. Serato Lite is free. I believe Tractor has a free demo. I don't know if the full version is free, but you can totally mix with it. So I would just play around with essentially just this view right here. These are all the controls you need in the middle of the screen. This stuff is just extra. This stuff is just extra. This is just visual reference. Would highly suggest learning up faders. Yeah, the up and down things, these things right here, rather than these. But I know some people who prefer it, so I'm just leaving it as an option. Like FunkMod's saying, this tends to be a better option overall. Can you MIDI map with VDJ? Yes. When I first opened up Virtual DJ, it did ask if I wanted to connect my controller, which I just realized it actually has the horn on there. So it is actually mapped. It is actually mapped already to some things. So yeah, you can totally map a MIDI controller to Virtual DJ to do stuff. There's also hotkeys. If I hover over these, you can see some of these have hotkeys. Like Q has a, where is it? Play has a hotkey of spacebar. Sync has a hotkey of shift and space. So for some of these things, you can actually use hotkeys to adjust them. Like, so you could actually select the track. Which one is this one? I'm surprised it doesn't let you. There we go. Oh, it's Alt Space. Okay. Ooh. Oh, I have Auto Mix on. That's why. I turned on Auto Mix. Okay. Don't do that, though. Don't turn on Auto Mix. Don't suggest doing that. But I think that's actually it. I think that's pretty much everything you need to know about DJing. Yeah. I didn't mean to do that, but You can set up hotkeys, you can set up stuff. There's a whole set of options. You can see you can set up a controller to do things. You'll have to map it all yourself, obviously. You can see there's lots of options here. Definitely recommend going through these. Again, go through tutorials. If you're using certain DJ softwares, go through their tutorials. Most DJ software has tutorials. It'll go over a lot of the same things that I talked about today. But I think you have pretty much everything you need. I can't think of really any other information that you need to get started with DJing. The easy part is now done. We're going to keep adding in more easy techniques, more things that'll help with this basic process. Now it's all practice and it's taste making. So this is where your ability to find music comes into play. I'm expecting all of you to have some sort of idea of the kinds of songs you want to play and have some sort of understanding of the things that you want to do with your DJing. If key modulation is a thing, is tempo modulation common, since like going from 100 to 150, it can be, but it's tough. It's tough. There's certain ways you can do that. We will eventually start talking about changing BPMs, going into more open format styles. We're going to treat it sort of like, at first, all of you are going to be one genre DJs. I, in fact, encourage you when you just start off, be a one genre DJ. Just like when I encourage people when they're starting producing, be a one genre producer and start expanding out from there. Because then you're really restricting the amount of additional information you have to learn as you're growing. So when you're getting started, just decide, I'm going to be a drum and bass DJ. I'm going to be a hardstyle DJ. I'm going to be a house DJ. I'm going to be a techno DJ. I'm going to be a hip hop DJ. Just kind of encapsulate yourself into a box just for now. We're going to slowly start introducing skills that can be applied across different things, and then we'll start looking at how you can blend styles, how you can go from house to techno, how you can go from techno to dub, how you can go from dub to drum and bass, or whatever. And we'll go over techniques, but I don't want to give you all too much, because this little box right here is all you need. This right here, this right here, these right here, not even the rest of these, just these two right here, just these two, and then these buttons right here. That's all you need. That's all you need. That worked out well for Getter. Jeez. Can I be an ambient DJ? I mean, I'm sure you could try. I don't know how well it would work, but you could certainly try. But yeah, I think that is about it. So why don't we spend a couple of minutes talking about this? Does anyone have any other questions about DJing, any things that they want me to maybe show on the CDJs here before I'm done? I might not say yes to all questions, but I will address every question. So I'll give us, it's about 12:30, so I'll give people about 5-10 minutes. And then after that, I guess we'll go rate someone. Unless no one has questions. If no one has questions, we can just rate someone. But I'm open to any other questions people have about DJing, about harmonic mixing or whatever, so that we can make sure no one is feeling lost or feeling like they don't have enough information. And while we do that, I'm actually going to set my webcam zoom back up to look a little bit closer. How do you feel about freestyle DJing against playlisting? Okay. So that is definitely a thing. That's kind of a personal preference thing, honestly. Zoom it into about here. Cool. So when I oops, sorry about that. So no worries, Parker. You can always ask me questions on Discord. Just hop into Discord, !Discord for a link to that. Just tag me. I'd appreciate if you didn't DM me for every single question you have. I'd appreciate if you tagged me in Discord rather than DM'd me for a bunch of different questions, but I am open to answer them. Now, what FunkMod's talking about up here, freestyle DJing versus playlist DJing. So what I did here was technically a form of playlist DJing, where I had the set list already prepared before I started DJing. As you saw, I was mixing live, I was beat matching live, I was EQing and doing everything while I was playing back the songs, but the order of the songs that I picked were predetermined. I knew the order going in, how I was going to mix the songs together. Some people will do that for their entire set. If I have, say, 45 minutes in my set, I might pick 45 minutes of songs, practice that a couple times, make sure I have everything working out, and then just play that out. Some people plan out literally every single thing, including acapellas, including drop transitions, including edits, including all these different things. Typically, people who do that, they want to have some sort of synced audio-visual setup, or they are not comfortable with certain things that come in with freestyle DJing, which we're going to talk about in a second. I personally don't do that very often. I'm doing it for these classes because I think that it is helpful to have that stuff kind of removed from the equation when I'm trying to teach something. But my preference is to freestyle. My preference is to actually kind of just wing it and let things go. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think, for me personally, it kind of goes against the spirit of DJing, at least in the reasons why I became a DJ, the reason why I started DJing. But it's kind of like the goat farming meme, where, you could have sync on, like I would say like the highest form of the goat farming meme, the most basic sense is like literally someone else did the playlist. You're just playing a pre-recorded set. Generally agreed upon as a no-no. But then we can talk about, okay, you have a planned set, but it's not pre-recorded, you're playing it live, and you're using sync. So all the tracks are going to work perfectly every time, no matter what. There's basically no risk of failure. You might maybe press play at the wrong time, but other than that, you're pretty much set. Next step down is that same thing with no sync. Then there is, instead of a playlist, you have different groups of playlists. Like, I'm going to play these 5 songs together. I'm going to have 10 minutes of just doing whatever I want. Then I'm going to link this last song into the first song on this sequence. I'm going to play the sequence, and then go back into just doing whatever I want. Kind of blending this open format, kind of freestyle DJing, where you're just kind of going through your crate library and grabbing songs. Then you have people who are, they have sections of ideas, where it's like, I personally am more in that vein, where it's like, I have crates. I have deep house crates. I have bass house crates. I have dubstep plates. I have rhythm crates. I have these different groups of genres, and then I have things like chill songs, high energy songs, bangers, stuff like that. And I use that to sort of freeform my way through different tempos, through different sections. I'll have crates for like tempo changing tracks. Like if I want to have a song, if I want to go from 140 BPM to 128 BPM, I might use a song that has a 140 BPM section and then changes to 128 BPM later on, and then I beat match there and I mix in that. And I usually have some sort of thing in either the memory cues or in the title of the song that says, 140 to 128. So that I have a little memory note that this is the song that's going to tempo change. And then you have people who they freewheel it. They do whatever the fuck they want. And there's nothing wrong with doing anything on that stage or along that stage, except for maybe pre-recorded sets. Personally, I think pre-recorded sets are a bit too far. I think it's a bit too beyond the pale. That's no longer really DJing. You're not actually mixing the songs together. You're just kind of playing something that's already been done. But I'm not judging it. If you're a band, you have a set list. If you're in a band, you have a set list. There is a pre-ordered list of the songs you're going to play. Why can't a DJ do the same thing? That's my logic on it. But personally, I don't. I like having fun. I like doing random things. And by having fun, I mean I like experimenting. I like doing things on the fly and seeing what happens, even if it's not always perfect. That's my preference. One day you should talk about the live part of Ableton DJing with that. I will actually 100% do that, Adjunct Funk. I'm not going to do that today. I want to have a special day on that specifically, because you can actually DJ pretty easily inside of Ableton Live. And you can have all of those different degrees of control or lack of control inside of Ableton, plus all the benefits of DJing inside a digital audio workstation. You can have certain effects that you couldn't have on a DJ mixer because it's inside of a DAW. You can start to do things like DJ and also have MIDI controllers that play things and things like, and have a lot of fun. How's it going, Trap? How's it going, A Passing Feeling? So that's my thoughts on it. We will do that, but there's other things I want to get to first. We'll definitely get into that for sure. Can we throw cakes when DJing? If you want to, but I would not suggest it. You can use VSTs in Virtual DJ, really. I didn't know that. Now I know. TIL. You can use VSTs in Virtual DJ. But yeah, we'll definitely get into DJing with Ableton. We won't do that necessarily next week, or the next time I do a DJ stream, which I don't know when that'll be. I'll have to plan it out to figure out what I want to do. But it'll most likely be drop mixing. That was going to be the thing. It's mostly going to be drop mixing, and it's going to be focused more on like dubstep and how to do kind of the faster mixes. Because this was a little bit kind of slow, medium rate mixing, generally in like 16 bar sections. You have both things playing and you're flipping EQs and doing all that stuff. After that, I want to focus on quick mixing, where you're not really doing a lot of EQing. You're pretty much just playing with faders, moving things around, and this involves a lot more hot cue stuff. This involves a lot more cue-based stuff, and it's going to be a bit more of a exercise in planning or an exercise in knowing your songs. And then after that, we're going to move back to ultra slow mixing. Like, this song is taking 5 minutes. This song is taking 4 minutes. I'm going to have 1.5 minutes of just the two songs playing as I play with EQs. I don't know specifically when I'm going to do that, Quickie. I'm thinking next week, maybe. If not next week, it'll be in 2 weeks. I'm going to try and keep it pretty regular, but I do want to plan it out. I need to get the song set up. I need to get the set list done. This was kind of freewheeled, and I think it worked out. Hello, Christina. You are new. How often do you come on? So I stream typically Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. West Coast United States time, 10 a.m. PST, to about 3 to 5 p.m., sometimes later. And then I occasionally stream on Saturdays or Sundays. Very rarely do I stream on weekends. I just don't have anything else to do because we're all stuck inside. So, how's it going, Jack? Unfortunately, we're actually kind of ending the stream here soon. I hate to be that guy, but we've already done everything. But you can watch the VOD. I hate to be the person to do that, but you can definitely watch the VOD. We went over everything. I'm so sorry. If anyone has any other questions, now's the time. But I am going to start looking for someone to raid. Cause whoops, I didn't. No, stop. There we go. Stop. There we go. Would you consider raiding my friend James? He's a DJ. As many. Okay. Yeah. I will look at that, and we will see who's on. We'll see who's on. Let me go grab Twitch. But thank you all so much for hanging out with me. This was super fun. I really, really, really liked this stream. I really want to do this more. Because I miss DJing. I actually got started with music through DJing. Let's see who is live. All right, so